let's get there.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the question I'm going to ask? Oh, yeah.
Where are
Where
we?
are we?
Where are we?
Yes.
Well, I have a question. I I remember there was one point, right, where I was we were working this a style, kind of a Tao of Improv, right, and I was kind of, that gave me some guidance, and I felt really comfortable with that, right. And at one point, I was working with someone, right, that really focused in characters, right. That as if that was, I mean, it was definitely a different approach than what I was used to, right. And you know, pretty much it was like, if you make your character really stand out, everything else will fall in place. And it was hard for me at, you know, at first, because I was looking for other things, you know, to I was looking to it didn't make sense. I felt kind of silly, you know, at the beginning, because it was like, you know, how do you make a character? Well, how do you stand normally, like this? Oh, you know, since I have this face, how do you stand normally, right, like this? Okay, we'll stand, you know, weird, and become a character, right? And how do you speak, like that? Well, speak like this, speak like this, so now you're a character, and now people are gonna, you know, pay attention to you because you're different than the rest, you know. And you know, they started like, which is, it's cool. I learned from it, but it was really uncomfortable at first, because I I I didn't feel like I was working so much with feeding off my partner, you know. Like I feel like when we're doing the Thursday class, right? Um, Everything, including my character, it's created from the interaction, you know. And I feel like I can feed off of that, to know who I am and where I'm going as I relate to my partner. But with this, it was kind of like backwards. It was like, create that, and that will make the rest, it will create things in the scene, because naturally you're adding a dynamic, you know. But
Hmm.
at first it was like, I went haywire, because it was like opposite, you know.
Interesting.
So any feedback on that?
I can certainly give you some if you want that. One thing I'd say about that is that, uh, one, I don't know if you've ever done any acting, like on a stage, um, even a little bit. But when you're when you're acting on a stage or like for a camera or whatever, you wear makeup, even if you're not, wearing weird makeup, you're still wearing makeup on stage, and the makeup you would wear on a stage is much heavier and more pronounced than makeup you would wear in real life. And you initially would feel really self-conscious walking around with this exaggerated, almost kabuki like makeup on your face. um, but then you realize, well, yes, your slightest gestures have to be seen by people 40 rows back. So you're not playing for someone right here, you're playing for someone back there. And I was told that, Aniela told me this about the kind of makeup that they use when they're shooting HD video, which is completely different from movie makeup, because everything is very so. Once you get used to the fact that that you're wearing a mask a little bit, and that you have to be, you can forget that's what you're doing, and then you can start doing the other thing that you said, which is reacting to your to your partner. Um, but I think that the things that we were taught, teaching, or doing in the Tao class had to do with techniques like distancing and disengaging and physical this and physical that, irrespective of any reason for doing them. That you create these dynamics first, and then the dynamics you create two sticks, and then when they rub together, something happens. Um, so I think the value of those two different things is, if you can do the one thing, which is realize that your characters have to be somewhat bigger than real life, but if you can make yourself do that almost instinctively, then you can forget about that. And then when you start doing the relating to your partner thing, you will be doing it that way without having to think about it. So in other words, you'll be wearing the stage makeup, but doing things that your partner can relate to. So I think that the big character stuff is something that you shouldn't be doing consciously on stage, self-consciously. I think it should become a set of things that you just do automatically, and then you don't think about it, and then you do think about the connection that you're making and how you feel with your partner. So that's how I think those two things fit together. But you guys tell me.
So that just gave me a thought about. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No.
Oh, no.
Okay, you go, Paul.
She's sulking. What?
I was
Okay,
just gonna say, like,
all right, fine,
sometimes amazing characters can be great. Good. I'm sorry,
go. Go, please.
Sometimes big characters are awesome. Like some of my favorite scenes I've done, I came in with a character and I became that character. But what made the scene great was that character also connected with everybody in the scene. So I came to one, John probably remembers, where I was the angry, I was the elf, and I was ready to, I'm Santa's elf, and that was just really outrageous character. We had a lot of fun with it, and I kept getting recalls out, kept getting repeats of the stage. But every scene that I was in, I connected with every character that was also in the scene. Like your character can't be bigger than the scene. It's got to be part of the scene. So if you come in with something, I feel like me personally, I feel like that's awesome. It kind of creates something, but it still has to live in the scene itself. It can't live by itself. That's just my opinion.
Okay, Lauren, what were you thinking?
So I feel like what Jeremiah was saying about characters is, and like thinking about improv on a bigger like level, it's kind of like making cookies, and everybody has their own formula or whatever. And that's why going to different classes has been very enlightening, because like you have one way of making your cookies with like the sugar first and then the floury mix and then the chocolate chips or whatever. And like Casey has his own way of making the cookies. Maybe he puts the chocolate chips in first. And I feel like for me, the characters per se are like the chocolate chips that I put in last. And sometimes it's like hard to remember, oh shit, I'm not making sugar cookies, like I gotta put that in. But it's something to think about, is maybe like grabbing the character first and going into the scene with the character, because it's not something I ever think to do. Kind of just like comes up while I'm in there.
Anybody else?
Adding, I guess, to the idea of creating characters, I was reading a few weeks ago, what's it called?
The Bible.
The Bible, yeah. Jesus came. No, Truth and Comedy. And then there was a part towards the end where it mentioned like what something that's helped with characters or something to do with characters is give yourself like a little secret or something. So like
I remember that.
Yeah, so like you give yourself a secret and don't make it obvious. Just act as if you're this person with this, I guess, this goal or this I don't know, this knowledge that only you know, and just go throughout the scene with that. Doesn't have to be a big character or anything, but just act as if you have this own philosophy or whatnot, and that's like its own character. And if the other person picks up on it, great. If not, it doesn't matter, because you're still going through it, and that helps with the characters.
I'm glad you said that, because that reminds me, I read that too, and I also got to work a couple times with Shauna Halpern, who wrote that book.
Oh, cool.
And not just me, workshops and stuff like that, And she did that. Now that I recall, it was years ago, but she had us each write down a secret on a little piece of paper and just read it to ourselves and put it in our pockets or whatever, and not use it. But that was a cool thing, because
Yeah,
anything
that sounds
anything
really
to
cool.
take you out of yourself,
Mm.
and to program you to be someone else automatically is cool. Yeah, it's very nice. I like that.
I mean, like, okay, you have to go through this scene knowing that you murdered someone, but no one else knows. Something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, or that you hate cats,
Take it to the extreme.
or that you hate cats, or that you like to do needlepoint, or it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be big.
Okay.
I
Oops.
like
We're more-
pineapple on my pizza.
Yeah, that's better.
That's a very good.
It seems like that would be a nice subtle way just to kind of keep your mind reacting rather than thinking of how you react, but like you kind of like when we've done some of those exercises when you're like trying to be over emotional and you're like screaming and acting crazy. It's like you're doing something else, or like when we're running around and you're exhausted, you're not thinking about your reactions.
Mm. Well, one of the things I was thinking when you were talking, Jeremiah, was when you were talking about having a particular body shape and doing things, moving differently, and creating, as you said, a memorable character, or a slightly larger than life character. Uh, that doesn't have to be the same as shouting and running around. Uh, that character could be someone who is internal and very uh, um, it is just whatever it is that you are. It just if it's normally a 3, make it a 4. Just bump it up just a little bit. So if you're depressed, be slightly more visibly depressed. But that doesn't mean that you have to be a pirate and hey matey, let's grab ourselves some grog and go. You don't have to do that. You can, but you don't have to. You can just be slightly more, which is really usually all that's necessary, unless you're doing crazy ass short form, which or some crazy formats in which that would work, I think. Any other thoughts?
I think as an effect in something so short, it could reach a dynamic faster, so it could be more effective in those terms. But yeah, I guess because it was just new to me, I just didn't know how to. But I think once you, like we are speaking, you put it in your toolbox as a range of things, then it can be more organic and it can be powerful. But you don't need to be a character bigger than life, as you say, every single time. Or do you?
This much bigger than life.
Okay.
This much bigger than life. Just so that it's clear that it's this clear that you're an actor. You know what I mean? So I mean, just that much, just to remove it from you, so that your reactions are not necessarily your reactions; they're this character's reactions. I think if you can do it, I mean, you know, like you said, tools. They're all tools, so you can choose to use them or not. I think. Yeah, and that's an interesting way of looking at things. It's nice if sometimes that secret can come from within the scene. I remember I was teaching a class down in Miami, and the class, they were pretty good. In fact, a lot of those classes were good. Always those people really got it, for some reason. And one of the things I remember, a scene in which somebody had an umbrella for no reason. They just had an umbrella. What they weren't even outside. They had this umbrella, and then they went and put the umbrella somewhere. It had nothing to do with anything. And then they came back and kept doing the scene. And we got to a certain point in the scene where something was needed, maybe 10 minutes later. And I stopped them and I said, I said to everyone else in the class as well as them, I said, okay, what is it that we need? What is it that he needs to get right now? And everybody at the same time, including the other people in this had been in the scene, all said at the same time, the umbrella, which was an insignificant thing that we saw for a few seconds at the beginning of the scene. So they must have had umbrella somewhere in the deepest recesses of their mind. It wasn't gone. They hadn't forgotten about it. So that when they needed a thing, that was the thing. It's not just that they knew it, the audience knew it. They all said the same thing. And I knew it too. I said, this is where we need the umbrella. And that's exactly, and the funny thing about that was that I paused them, and then when the scene continued and he came back in with the umbrella, everybody laughed. Even though they knew he was going to do it, even though we'd said that this is what you're going to do, he went and did it. So the secret can be something that happens in the scene ahead of, happens in the scene, and then you take and put it in the back of your head and have a secret. I hate that guy. Or I'm going to sleep with that woman, or I'm going to take that guy's job, or I'm going to sell that guy a car, whatever. Put that thing in the back of your head so that that secret comes from inside the scene. It's even better.
I like that. I really like the concept of the hidden secret that you know about, and you just throw it in your head, because it does make you act a certain way. If you have something that you're, something that makes you like kind of who you are, what your thing is. I really like that concept that you have something that no one else knows about, and you don't necessarily ever bring it up, but it makes you be something. That's the first time I kind of heard about something like that, and it really sounds awesome to try something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a short form game where they do that, where the audience will write down stuff and somebody will pick out of a hat, and this is their secret, their hidden secret. And so it's a game, but it's also a thing you can do, which, as I said, it's the first time I ever heard about it was, like you said, John, from Sharna Halpern and the whole Del Close thing. So she really is, she gets credit for that. It's pretty cool. It does work, and I've forgotten about it, so it's nice.
The on a different improv topic, but not really improv. I had to do this. HR department came over and they had to pick like one person to do like an interview in the hotel business. How's COVID affected you? This whole thing, right? So I had to do this whole video. It was 5 questions, not this whole video. It was a 6-minute 5-question thing, right? So they sent me the questions before I wrote up my answers, kind of pre-learned them, and then I did an interview thing, right? So I did this whole interview, and I thought it went well, and everything was great. And then I watched it, and I don't know who I think I am and how I think I sound and how I think my mannerisms are was different than what I saw when I watched the video. And it really kind of, in a way, like really bothered me that I sound that way and I look that way and I act that way. And I'm just wanted to kind of change everything about that. And I don't know how to acknowledge that I even do it.
Same from last Thursday. I changed my hair because of last Thursday's video.
Me too. That is
extreme, right?
You have no idea how many people can relate to that. And once again, here's me being old again. When I was in college, video, like there were no DVDs, there was no internet and shit like that. So and people didn't walk around with iPhones and video cameras. Most people never saw themselves on video. Very few people had, and nobody had a video camera. The TV did, but most people weren't used to it. They saw themselves in a mirror. They saw themselves in like 8mm films, But hey, Washington Monument. But they didn't see themselves normally. And in a mirror, that's one thing. It's instantaneous, and it's so you can change. So I was in this class called Acting and Performance for the Camera. And we learned how to supposedly act for a camera. And we had a television studio there, a professional television studio with cameras and a booth and all that, sets and lights and all that shit. And we worked together with the class that was learning how to run the cameras and direct. And and run the switching and all that stuff. So on Mondays, our class would rehearse stuff and do drills, improv type drills. On Wednesdays, we would get together with the other class and we would do all this stuff in front of the cameras, and they would do their tech stuff. And then on Fridays, we would watch what we each did. And the very first time that we all got together on a Friday, the professor came in with this huge bottle of aspirin, and he gave everybody 2 aspirins, and he said, "You're going to need these."
I need more than aspirin.
Yeah, well, that's about all he could give out. And I'm telling you, everyone, and it was one by one. Each person saw their thing, then the next person, the next.
Oh.
It was devastating.
Yeah.
For everyone, even the people who were like the class clowns and always wanted the extroverts and stuff, exhibitionists, whatever. Everyone hated it. It was we walked out of that class like this. We walked in like this, and we walked out like this. Like I don't want to be seen.
Avoided a mirror for a year.
I still feel that way. I hate being in videos. I hate being in photos. I hate it. But
Oof.
I still feel it.
Well, I felt like I really had like this Philly accent. I felt like I had this, and it's actually the way I sound. I guess it's the way I sound, but in my mind, I don't sound like this South Philly accent guy. But every other word I said, I'm like, wow, I sound like that guy that I don't like. I sound like the guy I don't like when I meet. If I meet that guy, I don't like him, and it was me. I'm like, fuck.
Like, I'm a dick.
Actually sounded like
Wait, that's something.
Lee?
I don't mind my South Philly accent.
this thing working?
Yeah. You're a little low, but that's working.
That's all right. Go.
No, we hear you now.
Good,
No, it's
Dave.
great.
There you
What'd
go.
you say?
I was asking Dan who he thought he sounded like this whole time. Like sounded like.
Kenneth Branagh.
I thought I sounded more like John than
Well, I remember in that same class, that same acting class, we just devoted a lot of time to getting rid of accents. And
that's
most,
what
because I had a Brooklyn accent, but I was in radio at the time, so I had learned to get rid of most of it. And I learned to say W. But a lot of this was upstate New York, so a lot of the people there were from that area, from Rochester and Buffalo and all that, and they had this accent in Rochester: chocolate, water, orange, and they didn't realize how it was horrible. At least the Brooklyn accent's funny, but that shit's horrible. And so we spent time getting rid of our accents, just replacing them with nothing. And which is kind of the way I still talk, unless I'm really angry and the Brooklyn comes back.
it's kind of like I have to hear it to know what I'm saying wrong to correct it. And I never realized how I speak until I saw it, and I've seen it a little bit before, but I don't know how to change it now. I don't know how to begin to change it because I don't know exactly what about it is wrong, and I don't know how to change it. And I'm all week I've been like obsessing over it. Like I'm standing in the mirror going, "This is how we do things," and I'm trying to like speak so specific, but it's just so natural.
I'll give you a couple of the exercises we did. I'll give you a couple of the exercises. What to do to die today at a minute or two. A thing distinctly hard to say, but harder still to do. We'll beat a tattoo at 20 to 2, a rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-two at 2. And the drummer will come when we hear the drum at a minute or two to 2 today, a minute or two to do. She makes a proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee pot. She makes a proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee pot. I mean, to sit in solemn silence to sit in solemn silence, and we had to repeat these things. So it's not.
So there were specific lines that you would repeat
to learn how to say T's and R's and S's and how to. So it wasn't a matter of getting rid of an accent. It was just like Photoshop. It's not getting rid of the background. It's putting something in there instead of it. So
add a layer on.
Yeah, you're clone brushing your accent away with something else instead. So you've got to figure out what it is you're going to replace it with. Fuck, may as well be British. If you're gonna change,
Yeah.
You know, I don't like this Philly accent anymore. You know, I think I really won't. I don't know.
Chop, chop, chip, chip, cheerio.
Chop, chop, chop. You're going to be Chinese now? Jesus.
Chippy chip, dope and dope. The other I suck at accents too, so I'm really screwed.
Yeah, don't bother.
God, I need your help.
You only got one.
Be you.
And then it made me wonder, really, like, what everyone else has seen me. Like, how have you seen me? Because I have an image in my head of how other people see me, and then I see myself, and I'm like, wow, how does everyone else actually see me? Do they see me the same way I see myself right now, or do they see a different version of it, different than what I see? So it kind of made me like really. It threw me in a loop. It was a weird little loop, a spiral of.
Well,
everyone sees you differently.
No, I think we pretty much all see the same thing.
I mean, with our eyes, but everyone sees them differently. We all see ourselves differently too.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the reasons I do improv, because I'm doing it on a stage. I don't know what I look like, and I don't care. I think I'm doing a great job, and I think it's that I'm coming across exactly the way I want to come across. Just don't show me a fucking video. I won't watch it. I won't. When someone says, "Hey, a video," oh, great. Can I have your phone and throw it away?
Here's how Tom edits. He goes. I edit by my ears.
Like knows that's his voice, and he skips over.
So one of the things I was thinking about since we talked last week about shiny objects and characterizations and stuff like that was I was looking at some of the improvisers who have really made it, you know, like Tina Fey and Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell and you can name a shitload of them, who are, you know, what's his name, the guy from The Office,
Greg,
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, these guys, these people, and it occurred to me that one of the reasons that they made it, that they're good at what they're doing, is that they gave up the idea of game. Game isn't helping Julie Louis-Dreyfus be Veep. In other words, they realized that playing grounded, believable characters was where it's at. Acting was where it's at. None of these people are doing game, because why should they? Their scripts are written for them. Their characters are developed, and we watch them because of the characters that they play. We don't watch them because they know where the game is. They gave that up in order to become serious actors. All of them did. I can't think of a single great improviser who's become famous who is still doing game and who got anywhere by doing that, other than got out of improv.
But isn't part of their brilliance staying grounded and being a great actor in the scene while pointing out the funny thing, but not necessarily making it a funny thing, but pointing it out the unusual thing while staying grounded?
I don't know. I don't think that they can afford to do that in their acting career. I don't think that if the script says to do this, that they and this is the script, that they're just gonna go looking for the game. Maybe as writers, you know, which most of them are, but I think game is important, but it's there. It's just fucking there. It's the oxygen in the scene. But I think that they all began to realize that they need to work on the character muscle. That's where that's the memorable thing. You know, that's the thing that makes you wanna. Oh, Will Ferrell's got a thing. Good. I gotta watch that because I like Will Ferrell. because I like what he does. Oh, Steve Carell, I can't wait to see the next Steve Carell thing. Tina Fey, can't wait to see what she does. Why? Because she's going to find the game? No, because you want to see what she does, because you like what she does. So I think maybe it's like the other thing we were talking about. Maybe that sense of game is now deeply embedded in them, so it's just there, and so it's part of the characters that they create. You get the sense of whimsical stuff, whimsy from all their characters. You're waiting for some brilliant thing to come out of their mouths. I don't know. I don't have aspirations to be an actor, so it doesn't play that way to me. It's just I just find that's my to me that's the Rubik's cube. It's not for me. I think it's easy to find the game, so I don't want to do that so much because it's easy. For me, it's harder to be real and grounded. That's the hard thing. So I try to do that because it's not what I'm used to doing.
But when you like, if you see the game, I mean, you're not like focused on it, but you still play into it while you're focusing on the other stuff, don't you?
Yeah, it's the shiny object.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I like to call it the shiny object, because I didn't come up with that. I mean, I don't know where that came from, somewhere in Chicago, but that's why I like the shiny object, because it implies that it's just something that floats through a scene.
Right. Okay.
It's not the bedrock of the scene, and that there will be another one, and that there will be another one, and if you miss it, there's another one.
So you're saying the game is the bedrock and the shiny object is just something that they like. What is the main difference between the game and the shiny object?
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't want to think of the game as the bedrock of a scene. So by calling it the game, you're giving it the status of being the foundation of the scene, and if it's not there, everything crumbles. I what we're talking about as the game, I like to think of as the shiny object, because it's not it it doesn't elevate it to this level of if it's not there, what are we going to do? So if you're looking for the game, you're going to miss some shiny objects. Uh, so that's what I'm saying. That's just me. So, which is why when I see improv where I don't believe the person, I don't think that it's improv. You know.
So to study acting would help improv. You know.
I think
on the
I think
same
to study,
or you,
I think to study improv would help actors. I know a lot of actors, and some are in my family actually, out in LA, who they act, and they've done stage acting, and they've done screen acting and stuff, you know, a little bits and this and that, and they've gone to acting schools, and the one thing that terrifies the shit out of them is improv. It terrifies them.
Yeah.
When I mention improv to them, they shudder, like I'm talking about putting them on the rack and torturing them. So they have to work very hard to get into their character. Some of them do method stuff, and it takes them weeks to establish a character and to get into a character. And there are actors who just go out of their way to get themselves into a character, who will literally move to another town and wear different clothes and gain weight and all that shit. And maybe if they knew that all they had to do was talk louder and walk back and forth, sit and stand, maybe that there was a way to do this without having to actually, there's a way to play a poor person without actually having to give all your money away, you know? So I don't know that acting, that the acting lessons would help your improv, but as long as you didn't stop taking improv lessons or doing improv workshops or whatever, and didn't become an actor who is now dependent upon lines and where to stand and makeup and props and sets, you know, as long as you didn't start losing your improv edge, I guess that would be helpful. But I guess anything's helpful, and any thing you do to change yourself. I mean, if you, I don't know, learn another language or read a shitload of books or whatever, that's going to improve your improv. Anything that improves you will
Yeah,
improve.
I guess I just had the question, like, kind of like, how do I get deeper into characters? I feel like I touch characters on the surface, and I get into maybe a little tone of their voice and maybe a few attributes. But how do I get deep in there where I become that person on stage? Sometimes I feel like I'm not truly diving in deep enough.
Well, let me ask you this. In general, do you think that you're someone who likes people in general? I mean, do you like basically like people?
Basically, yes.
Last week you were talking about Beer Shark Mice and how you guys mash it up and make it your own, and you were talking about the Dave Rosowski-ish. So, like, if you had to describe your type of improv that we do, like, what would you call it? Like, how would, like, if somebody said to me, like, have you done improv? I said, yeah, I do. I've trained sick puppies. And they say, well, what do they really do? What would be the answer to that's what we're learning in this Thursday night class?
Grounded, character-based improv.
All right, good talk.
I mean, you wanted it short. That's, if I had to summarize it, I think that's what I would say.
Grounded, based. Yeah, I mean, okay.
Grounded, character-based improv. But one of the things I would hope is that we would do improv that is hard to define in a few words. So it's not entirely grounded, character-based improv. It's okay, there's UCB style improv. What does that mean? It means a lot of different things. If Doghouse theater ever became as popular as UCB, people would call what we do Doghouse theater improv, but they don't. It was about the last thing you said that we kind of blew by. I think it was about not being maybe about how to not be self-conscious. Is that what it was, or you were saying kind of that it threw you for a loop, that what you saw was different from what you thought you were doing?
Yeah, right? Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. What I think I'm putting out there isn't what I vision in my head that I'm putting out there. So it kind of made me wonder what I'm actually putting out there. Because I could see, like, I can react off other people's reactions, but if I was, I don't know, it's one of the, like, if I was to see myself, if I was to act on myself, would I even know what to do? Because when I saw this video, I sounded like I was in a damn fishbowl, and I had a weird thing, and there was a lot of mannerisms with my hands, like freaking Edward Scissorhands I didn't like, and I just saw so many things that bothered me about the way that I looked. But maybe I'm overcritical, or maybe I just never realized that.
You're letting your frenemy inside talk. You need to get that frenemy out of here.
Well, it wasn't even that I was like horrible on myself. It was more like that I didn't know that was me. Like, it was one of those things. It wasn't like I thought, like, if I was to watch that video and didn't know me, I'd be like, this dude's this dude's got his stuff together. This dude's this. Hey, this is a guy from South Philly that's got, like, this is what I would have thought of myself. But that's not. I feel like I've evolved from that person that I once was, and I thought I evolved into something different than what I saw on there. I mean, I've literally all week been looking in the mirror, going, "This is how you speak." Like, I was like trying to correct like a flaw in me almost, but I don't know if I saw it more because it's me, or if that's what everybody sees. Do I look like what I saw that I look like?
I think you're just being self-conscious, dude. You're good.
Yeah, I think it's the difference between what you perceive as reality and what you perceive as your expectations, and neither one of them is real. So really, I mean, your perception of you, even if you watch yourself in a video, is not correct. I mean, it's you're three-dimensional and the video's two-dimensional. It changes everything. And your perception of yourself is not real. I wish that I was on the outside what I am on the inside. I'm just not. I never will be. And there's nothing I can do about it. Just, you know, the more I would try to make the inside come out, it's still this. You know, it's still this. So,
As cheesy as it sounds, it is like what's on the inside that matters. So if you feel like you are this person that has evolved, then it doesn't matter what you see in a video. You know?
Yeah, but it wasn't even about like what I saw. It wasn't about like that. It's about like when I'm out there like interacting with people and I'm putting on like a character, or I'm being this, or I'm being something in a scene. If I'm this guy that I see in the scene, it's different than who I think I am in the scene. You know, like I looked at it kind of like that way. Like, do I always sound like this, you know, half retarded South Philly guy? Is that always who I sound like?
yeah.
Or when I'm in the scene, am I?
It works so well for you because it's so obvious. It's so obvious that you're a South Philly guy, but then with your characters, it shows how much you're trying to be in the character, because you're like when you do the rapper guy or you do your characters, you do a great job of getting into the characters, and it's so obvious that you're getting into a character, which makes your scene better.
There was a guy I used to know who was from Boston, and he played hockey with him, and he was a crazy motherfucker. I loved him, but he was weird. Boston Bob, he talked like this. Tommy. I said, Tommy, if a mountain lion jumps at you from a cliff, Tommy, I'm telling you this, Tommy, you run towards him and you punch him in the head, because the combined force of his leap and your punch will break his skull, Tommy. This is how this guy, this is him. He's a wonderful character. And so I can, at a moment's notice, become him. And by becoming him, I'm not me. So can you do that? Can you find people that are like, that's an iconic person, I gotta mimic that person?
Well, I mean, the answer, I would like to think that the answer is yes, right? Because I feel like I've just had a million characters around me my whole life, and I feel like I could tap into a lot of their things. But then I'm wondering, am I truly tapping into it? Am I truly tapping into it the way I feel that I am, or am I just being me? Am I just being me that thinks he's tapping into it, but I'm not really into it? That's why I was talking about how deep I get into a character. Am I truly tapping in, or am I just surface grazing of these people that I know are amazing characters? But I would love to.
There are techniques, and we can, when we reconvene as human beings, we can go into them. There are definitely techniques for that. I didn't know that it was useful just yet until we were all kind of on the same page doing character-based improv in a grounded way, which we were doing, and I think we were there. It was one of these things where it's not like every Thursday we'd be blank again, like an etch-a-sketch, and like we'd have to start from scratch. So we were at a point where we could do that. So we could, but we can't do that obviously here. And you're not going to, I don't care who says they can do that for you online, they can't.
Do you feel like it's going to be like a learning curve when we all get back together?
No.
It's like kind of starting over a little?
No, I don't. I really don't. I think that we will be, this has been an introspective time for everybody. And I think one of the things that we've tried to accomplish in the Tao classes is introspection. And we don't often have a lot of time for that. So I don't think, I honestly don't think so. I think it'd be like riding a bicycle.